Hi my beautiful souls, I'm Claudia Wright from Brighter Soul, and my mission is to raise the consciousness of this beautiful planet that we live on. And I do this by raising my own consciousness and helping you raise your consciousness through these videos, and just trying to get a bit more love and light onto this world, because I think it really needs it right now. Today we're going to talk about something that affects every single one of us, and that's duality, and why we experience opposites like love and fear, light and dark, joy and pain, and more importantly, how understanding this ancient principle can actually set you free. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why duality exists in the first place, how it serves your soul's evolution, and how to rise above it, which is the key thing here, because we're all aiming into getting into unity consciousness, that level of awareness where life just flows with like peace, happiness, compassion, and like a deep sense of knowing as well. So that's the point of this video today. So thank you very much for joining me. I've spent years exploring both spiritual and scientific sides of human consciousness, from neuroscience to energy work, and from psychology to mysticism. I love a bit of mysticism. And what I've discovered is this: duality isn't a mistake. It's not some cosmic glitch. It's actually the classroom that we all enrolled in when we decided to be human, when we decided to come down and play out our little scene on this earth. Think of your life as a bit of a canvas, or a game if you like, you know. Without contrast, without the darkness, the light would have nowhere to shine. And Rumi said this once, he said it in a great way. He said, "The wound is where the light enters you." And just think about that for a moment. Duality is both that wound and that light. It's the tension between the two that allow your soul to expand. And we've all been we've all come down here on this planet, on this crazy planet that we live on, to expand our consciousness and to expand our soul, and also to be part of the expansion of source. So why does duality matter? So duality is a perception of opposites. It's a way our consciousness experiences itself through contrast, like love and hate, joy and sorrow and sadness, success and failure. They're not enemies though, right? They're just reflections of the same energy, but they're vibrating at different frequencies. So in the spiritual sense, duality is the playground of the soul. It allows infinite awareness to see itself in parts, fragments, and stories. I'll just say that again. Duality allows infinite awareness, all that is, Source, God, to see itself in parts, in fragments, and in stories. And in a way, duality helps you become more. You can't know light unless you've also met the dark. You can't know courage unless you've faced fear. So without contrast, there's no growth, and there's no movement, and there's also no experience as well. And from a scientific point of view, our brains are literally wired for duality. You know, the left and the right hemispheres create polarity. For example, logic and intuition, reason and emotion. So every neuron also fires in binary, on, off, on, off, on, off. And even at the atomic level, positive and negative charges dance together to create life. So duality isn't just spiritual, it's also biological. And it's built into the operating system of our existence. So what's the spiritual reason why duality exists? When you think about it from a spiritual perspective, duality exists when souls choose to incarnate into human form. So we step into what's called the realm of contrast. It's the only way consciousness can experience itself as separate from source, so that one day it can remember that it was never separate at all. And that's our whole life journey, is remembering that we aren't separate from source, even though it's shoved in our face that we are, and that we're physical and that's all we are. You know, this game of light and dark, love and fear, ego and soul, is all part of awakening. Darkness teaches the light its own value. You know, pain helps us understand compassion, and ego creates separation so that awakening can bring us back to unity. And from a higher perspective, duality isn't punishment, it's purpose. It's how source expands its awareness through us. Through every choice between fear and love, we create experience for our creator. Because that's all we are really, a little tiny droplet of the Creator. All of us, good and bad, we are all a part of the Creator. So it's pretty expansive experience for Source when we all come down and have these experiences. So look at the science of polarity and how the brain creates duality. Science is finally catching up to what the mystics knew years and years ago. Our brain needs duality to navigate this world. It's called categorical thinking, a process that helps us make sense of everything by splitting it into opposites. This or that, wrong or right, safe or dangerous, dark or light. And the prefrontal cortex looks for those patterns, while the amygdala scans for threats or reward. So at a survival level, this is actually quite brilliant. It keeps us alive, like don't go there because something might happen to you. But spiritually, it can actually keep us quite limited if we don't rise above it and grow from it. Because when we live in constant contrast, we forget the whole picture. We see difference instead of unity. And this is so important, so I'm going to repeat that again if that's okay. When we live in constant contrast, we see difference instead of unity. And that's why practices like meditation and heart coherence are so powerful. They quiet the parts of the brain that categorize and judge and open the parts that connect. And in those moments, you begin to see wholeness rather than sides. I'd like to add that this is so important at this current time. There's so much polarity in the world and judgment, against each other. And I think basically if we all can as individuals rise above this and come together in unity, the world would be a better place and everybody would have a better existence. So let's look at how duality serves our evolution. Every challenge you face is a mirror reflecting the opposite of what you're ready to embody. So fear invites you to be courageous. So when you're afraid and you have an opportunity to rise above it and become courageous, you go past your fear. And many of us don't do that, unfortunately. We don't utilize duality in the right way. We live in fear and we find ways to either blame others for that fear or become a victim. And that doesn't help us grow. And the important part of this as well is that the way the world is and the way the governments are set up and everything's set up, they feed us on that. They want people to fear. They want you to be afraid, and they want you to point fingers at others. But really what we need to do is actually rise above these fears, because that's what's going to help us grow. And part of our journey is to overcome this duality. Heartbreak, as painful as it is, opens the heart. And instead of becoming bitter, which is very common when we get heartbreak, we kind of blame the other person, which is fair. And I understand this because I've had my heart broken before as well. Overcoming this and understanding the other side allows more compassion and will help you love deeper if you can overcome it. Rather than blaming others for heartbreak, you'll find better relations going forward if you can overcome heartbreak. Another difficult aspect of duality is also loss, when somebody loses somebody or somebody passes away. But overcoming loss really deepens your gratitude. And every contrast is your soul nudging you to say, here is your next doorway in which you can grow, a new doorway to go through. Duality can therefore push your evolution forward and your awareness and consciousness forward. It's how we remember who we really are. Each time you choose compassion over resentment, or awareness over reaction, or unity over division, you transcend another layer of illusion and you transcend your consciousness and you elevate your consciousness. We evolve through contrast, and it's a really important factor in our growth, but we don't have to stay stuck in it. We can use duality to transform ourselves. At a collective level, humanity is now beginning to shift. I'm sure all of you can feel it, We're starting to learn through awareness rather than pain. So it's really important to know that whilst duality has played a role in our growth and evolution, we're awakening to the understanding that we don't need suffering to grow anymore. And this is really important. We no longer need to suffer to be able to grow. And here are some ways in which you can consider transcending duality. Transcending duality doesn't mean rejecting one side or the other. It just means integrating both. For example, because someone may have a complete different opinion to us, we don't need to feel hatred towards them or, disdain. It's so important to understand during this time in the world to hold space for others and be compassionate. And, you know, we don't really know their story and why they feel the way they do. It's so important to understand during this time and in the world to hold space for others. There's an enormous battle of opinion going on at this time. And for the spiritual seekers amongst us, we have a role to play in helping create unity. And true transcendence isn't light versus dark, or left versus right. You know, it's light that holds the dark, that we kind of hold it with love. So if you can think of others that are different from you or have different points of view, hold them in a space of love and see what happens. You know, you can say to yourself, I can see both, and just choose peace rather than hatred. It's such a negative emotion and a low frequency to hold hatred towards somebody. But I understand that sometimes each side pits each side against the other, and that's why we hold that kind of hatred, because they're showing us things that we don't want to see in others. So I think it's really important that if we really want to change this world, which we really need to do, and it's kind of happening anyway, but I think the more of us that do it, the quicker it will be. We really need to hold space and peace for others, even if they don't agree with the things that we do. Here are a few practices to help you evolve beyond duality. So one is obviously about observation. As you're going through your day, you can just see how, when you're getting triggered and how you are reacting to people. Just notice your emotions, you know. But don't label them like as good as bad, because that's also not the necessary thing to do. But they're just simply energy showing you where awareness is needed. So rather than react, just pause and take a moment and understand that things aren't always what they seem to be on the surface, which is very true. Nobody knows what's going on in the world. Like nobody knows what's going on with you emotionally. You don't really necessarily know what's going on with other people emotionally. And something that has triggered you is just awareness trying to make itself known. So take a few deep breaths and remember that actions of kindness or empathy will help neutralize polarity in this world. And wouldn't you rather live in a world full of peace rather than disharmony? Like, really think about it every day when you wake up. Do you really want to see all this crap on the news about this one hates that one and this person's done that now and that person's done that? We don't want to see it. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sure a lot of you would want to live in a world that is more full with peace, in harmony, and let's just live and let live, you know, let people do their thing, you do your thing. Let's just stop hating each other, for crying out loud. Like, haven't we gone past that yet? Wouldn't you rather live in a world full of peace rather than disharmony? I know I do want to, and I'm sure a lot of you do as well. And it does kind of start with us, you know, so if we can evolve our own consciousness to be more open, empathetic, and just understanding of others, it will bring that out in others too. I would just recommend do that for a while. Just see what it's like not to judge. Just pull yourself up as soon as you get into that place of duality where, like, they are this and I'm this. See what it feels like. And in this new spiritual paradigm that we're all moving into now, humanity no longer needs to learn through suffering. We are evolving from contrast consciousness to creation consciousness. We no longer need to be in competition with each other, where growth comes not from pain, but from purpose. Our purpose gives us growth. And our lessons come not from division, but from love and compassion, you know. I think we're at that place now where we can really, really just start to elevate our consciousness and understand that we're all humans. Actually, we're all spiritual beings. We're all souls having a physical experience. It doesn't matter what color, what race, what religion, we're all the same. We're all part of God, good or bad. So if we can just elevate our consciousness enough to know this and to feel into this, we can make the world a better place, but we have to do it. It's our job. We all have to do this. And the more of us that do this, that raise our consciousness, the world will change. It just needs a very small percentage of it. So let's get on board, people. Let's do this, yeah? So if this topic resonates with you, I think you'll love my episode on the power of forgiveness, which I'll link in one of these videos here somewhere, I'm not sure. And it's all about collapsing the illusion of separation and returning to love, which is all what I preach about. And I'll link it below for you. And if you're ready to take this deeper and to move beyond emotional triggers and step into emotional freedom, you can join my course, Master Your Triggers to Become Emotionally Free, which is on my website, brightersoul.com.au, but I'll also link it down below as well. And the next time life feels divided, remember this: the light and the dark are not enemies. They are partners in your awakening. Without one, The other cannot exist. And when you embrace both, you become whole. Yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast. I hope you join me for further podcasts. I'm really enjoying making these videos. I just want to bring a bit of peace into this world. That's all I want. And like, I work really hard. I meditate for the world. I love people. And I think you, me, we all can do this. We just have to take small steps to change our thinking, change who we are, and raise the consciousness of this planet. Now, we can do it. Like, there's a lot of people out there that don't understand how much power they have. We have so much power within ourselves. So yeah, really excited for you to join me. Like, subscribe if you'd like to hear more videos of what I do. And just peace out, people. Have a really good day. Peace out. Love one another, man. As Bob Marley said, one love. Ciao.